Men who are perceived as high value are some of the most sought after men on the planet. But what makes them so different? What separates a man who is viewed as having great value from a man who is viewed as having far less value? The difference, of course, is the code, or a set of rules that men follow that cause them to be perceived as high value or as rare or as in demand. And it all starts with number 1. High value men play the game differently. This is easily one of the most important things to understand because it has the potential to completely change how you view the world and how you value yourself. Whether we realize it or not, every man on the planet uses one of 3 strategies to get attention from females. And as is the case with anything in life, the strategy that you choose has an enormous impact on the results that you get. Now, the number 1 strategy that most guys use to get attention from girls is simply becoming friends with the girls first, and then from that point, eventually trying to turn it into something more. And this strategy basically involves offering up large amounts of your time and your energy, but it really doesn't guarantee anything for the men who use it. Strategy number 2 involves paying for things or offering a girl your resources, which also guarantees nothing. Most of the men today who are competing for attention from girls are using one or a combination of these 2 strategies, mostly because they are easy. All of us have a pretty much unlimited supply of attention that we can give to girls, and most of us can easily go get a job if we want to offer them resources. So all things considered, these are the 2 main strategies that most guys use to court women because they are the easiest and they are the lowest effort options. But then you have strategy number 3, and this is the strategy that is most commonly used by men who perceive themselves as having a greater value. So what we end up with is a lot of men who are really desperate to get any sort of attention from a girl and who are willing to basically sell their soul to get what they want. And on the other hand, we have men who have a much higher value because they play the game differently and because they compete on a different level. Think about it like this. If you put yourself, 99 other guys, and 10 girls in a room, and all of the guys were competing using the same strategy, what would make you stand out from the other 99 men? How could you possibly compete if you're just doing the same exact thing that every other guy is doing? Most guys and people in general tend to play the role of the sheep and simply follow what every other guy is doing. Most guys regularly offer up their resources or all of their time and their energy in exchange for some attention from a girl that they like. So when girls out there encounter a man who is rare or a man who competes on a different level, they don't really know how to react, which usually results in attraction towards this new novel man that they have found. Go drive on any public road and you'll see thousands of Hondas and Toyotas pretty much any direction that you look. The companies that make these cars mass produce them and they are engaged in fierce competition with each other, always slashing prices and trying to deliver more value than the other companies they're competing against. And this works out great for the people buying the cars, but not so much for the companies. If we were to take this same scenario and apply it to men and women, the buyers for the cars are basically the girls and the cars are basically the men. Ask any girl out there, pretty much anywhere, to choose between a Honda, a Toyota, or a Mercedes, and 95 out of 100 girls are going to choose the Mercedes because it stands out and it has a higher perceived value than the other cars. Car makers like Ferrari don't even have to compete with car makers like Honda or Toyota, and this gives them a huge advantage. This is basically the concept that applies to high-value men, because these men simply play the game differently, and rather than competing with all the other men who are so quick to offer girls their time, attention, and resources, these men simply play the game with a different strategy. So at the end of the day, they really don't have to compete with most other men. And it's much easier to win pretty much anything in life when there are fewer competitors against you. Why would any guy want to compete in a market of men who are all using the same exact strategy? Number 2, high-value men are not easily impressed. So many guys out there are impressed by any little thing, and this can cause you all kinds of problems that you really don't want to deal with. If you're the type of guy who is immediately and visibly impressed the moment that you lay eyes on something, what do you think that tells the other person? If you walk into a dealership and you see the car that you've always wanted and you make it obvious that it's your dream car and that you are completely amazed by it and that you'll do absolutely anything to get it, the person that's selling you the car is immediately going to use this against you to squeeze more money out of you. So many guys view girls the same way, where they become almost mesmerized by something as simple as physical beauty. In Greek mythology, a siren is a half-bird, half-woman creature who sat on rocks out in the ocean, luring sailors to destruction with the sweetness of their song. All of us men are like sailors, so what you have to ask yourself is, are you going to let any girl go and crash your boat, or are you going to keep on sailing? A large percentage of men these days, both young and old, are easily impressed by girls and anything that they do, whether it's their physical beauty or the way that they act around them. And the difference here is that high-value men simply are not. Since men with great value are not easily impressed, they never ever come off as being overeager or as being desperate, as is the case with most other guys. Every girl on this planet knows very well the power of their physical looks, and they know that combined with a little bit of seductive behavior, they have the power to put most men into an almost trance-like state. So men who are not easily impressed, paradoxically find that by being less impressed by other people, they don't come off as rude, but instead they actually come off as being higher value, harder to obtain, and as more attractive. Number 3, a high value man doesn't chase, he attracts. Look on any social media posts these days where you have a good looking girl posing in a seductive way, and 8 out of 10 comments on the post will be men complimenting her or telling her how attractive she is. Men all over the world are constantly chasing girls, and in some cases they do eventually catch them, which might end up in something like a long-term relationship. But what you have to understand is that even in the cases where the chase by the man was successful, ultimately and in reality it actually wasn't. Because in chasing the woman, what the man has done is established from the very beginning the simple frame that states that the girl is of a higher value than him, which is the same thing as throwing away his power. Most people know that the first rule of negotiations is always be willing to walk away. If you tell a car salesman how bad you want a car that they have, you've already lost the negotiation on the price. Same thing is true when it comes to girls. If you show a girl how interested you are right from the start, or how much you like her, or how attractive you think she is, you've already lost the game before you even started playing it. It's human nature to want what we can't have, and girls are absolutely no exception to this. In Greek mythology, there was a man named Apollo who was a young, incredibly handsome man with a perfectly sculpted body and even amazing hair. Yes, Alex, I'm talking to you. But at the same time, Apollo could never seem to get the girl. So here you have a man who had an amazing body, many incredible skills such as the ability to play different types of music, and even immortality. And Apollo had worse luck than any other Greek god when it came to females, simply because he didn't understand the concept of attracting instead of chasing. Most men out there these days are constantly chasing women or chasing something that women have to offer them, such as attention, validation, or other things. And the thing that all of these guys have in common is a vibe of desperation. When you choose to chase females instead of attracting them, you just end up looking like one of the billion other men out there who are lost in the desert trying to get their hands on any little sip of water that they can find. Like YouTube, our world is becoming a crowded place, and with every new person who is born, another potential competitor enters the arena. So if you want to get noticed, you have to stand out from everyone else by doing something different. High value men do a lot of little things differently than most other men, and when combined, there's all these little rules that they follow, or the code that makes them stand out. Girls are amazed and puzzled when they meet a guy who doesn't give off the vibe that he is desperate and willing to accept any sip of water that he can get in the desert. Girls pretty much expect that most guys will chase them by default, either by sending too many text messages or immediately showing interest in them, or by constantly leaving compliments on their social media posts. But high value men do things a little bit differently, and they live by a different code than most men. And this is precisely what makes other people perceive them as being more valuable than your average guy. And with that said, until next time, thank you guys so much for watching.